prime goal of government is to protect the minority of the opulent from the majority. And in order to do that, you've got to fragment the majority so they really can't get together and do very much. And you have to concentrate power in the wealth of the nation.
Let that be your welcome for the next hour, yes. A little bit of an hour. I'm ecstatic because we have Anthony Cumia in the studio here today. Radio legend.
Oh, wow.
Opie and Anthony, and the head of compoundmedia.com.
Yes.
My home. And there's breaking news. So now you are very well known for being, and do you hate this term, shock jock?
Oh, no, I take it for what it is. I don't consider myself that now because it's kind of a passe term.
Sure.
So whatever shock jock is now, sure, I'll take.
But you basically revolutionized that field.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was thinking about last night, growing up, I was a Howard Stern guy, and you know, and we talked about this a little bit briefly before, is that Stern always made fun of you guys, hated you guys, and I thought about it and go, he never actually said anything bad, just that you sucked.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, you like vanilla ice cream? Well, you don't want this vanilla milkshake.
Yeah.
It was like the same kind of humor. Why would he never had a reason not to like both?
Yeah, we did afternoons for quite a while, and we had a carryover audience of his morning audience was our afternoon audience.
Yeah, it's the same vibe.
Yeah.
So the breaking news is this: Kate Spade has just been found dead in her home. In the last 10 minutes, I've already tweeted out that the police have not released the cause of death nor the price of her body bag.
Oh, gee. Oh. So this just broke.
This just broke as you're on your way here.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about Kate Spade, other than she's actually related to David Spade. That's not a joke.
Oh, really? Not.
That's her. That's her brother-in-law or something.
Oh, okay. Odd with the same last name, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. An in-law with the same last name?
No, she married his brother.
Oh, she married his brother.
Think.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because then she takes the name. Oh, now I got it. I don't know. I pretty much just took everything that involves marriage and threw it out of my head years ago.
Wait, so do you have anything to say about Kate Spade's passing?
No, but it's I really need to.
That's young.
Look into that. What drugs do you think?
I don't know. It could be suicide.
Suicide, something like that.
Which, by the way, in all seriousness, like if you are thinking about suicide, I think it's very important people start talking about it more because it's the kind of thing where it's so preventable.
Yeah, I guess so. Some people are just driven by it. I mean, there's really no helping them. And but this is, I don't want to say it's good, but it's the way you should do it if it is suicide. Alone in a room somewhere where one person, jumping in front of a train, you're inconveniencing everyone. Jump off a building, you don't know who you're going to hit on the way down. If
you were going to kill yourself, wouldn't you take out your enemies with you? Like falling down?
Yeah,
I thought about this.
Yeah. I think you go out like doing something good, doing some good, getting rid of some evil people, and yeah.
Or at least give out your money to something. Like I would
something. Yeah, I was watching a show. It was Hunting ISIS is on. Okay. I think it's Nat Geo or something. One of those educational channels, and. These guys came back from the war, whichever war they were in, whether it was the Gulf War years ago or Afghanistan or Iraq, and they just can't function in society. And I think they were probably suicidal.
Oh, yeah.
And then they decided they're just going to go and fight with the Kurds against ISIS. So they just have these crappy AR-15 weapons, and they just go in, and I guess they figure, well, I'll get to do this until I get killed. And it's almost a suicidal thing, but they feel that they're doing a good thing until then.
Someone in the chat room's telling us that they read that she hung herself.
Oh, boy, that's bad.
That's bad.
That's bad for the person that finds it.
That's the thing. I mean, in all seriousness, that's what you have to do it so no one has to find you. Jump off the Staten Island ferry. I think it was a Garrison Keillor, whoever that was. It's like, do it that way.
The guy from the lead singer of Boston, he Bradley Delp, his name was. Years ago, he committed suicide. And he went into a room. He lit a hibachi in there. and closed all the windows and doors and just whatever that does to you,
Okay.
carbon monoxide, whatever. But he put a note on the door saying, "This is what I did. Don't walk in here. Call the authorities." Like, then
Yeah.
professionals show up and they're not, they know what they're doing. It's not like a kid or anybody's just going to go in. So, that's somebody that had some forethought.
I watched with a red scarf tied to a doorknob per Fox News. Oh God.
Oh, okay.
God.
And that can't even really be.
It's probably Hermes, right?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Hey, listen, if you're gonna scarf yourself, you want the nice scarf.
You probably use a nice scarf.
Or do you use the cheap scarf?
Don't use something cheap. No.
Oh God, that's
No. That would almost, if it was a dude, you would think maybe autoerotic asphyxiation.
I mean, isn't that a lot of times they do it by accident? Then they play it off like it's a suicide.
Yeah.
Because-
But I don't think I've ever heard of a woman even doing that. Does it work with a woman, autoerotic asphyxiation?
Yes.
Like the orgasm?
Of course.
It does?
You have to choke the what do you call it? The blood choke, not the air choke.
Right,
So you have to
right.
grab them on the sides of the neck and not in the front.
Oh, my God.
And because you're losing oxygen to the brain, it heightens the orgasm.
It heightens the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
So-
orgasm's good enough, I think. I think a regular standard orgasm, pretty damn good. I don't think it needs to be enhanced by choking.
Okay, so we had a question from Allie Lerman.
Oh, Allie.
She wanted, so you're working on a book.
Yes.
And by the way, to the people watching at home, Anthony is wearing an NYPD shirt to spite me.
Yeah. I just think sometimes it might be good on the subways. Because it always gives the benefit of the doubt. Like, someone will be
That
like,
is so
I could
smart.
punch him in the face, but what if he's a cop or a retired cop or something?
That is, I
Yeah.
wear lapel pins when I'm on Fox, and yesterday I had a police badge lapel pin, and no one even acknowledged.
Yeah,
the
that's
question
what you
anyway.
do. You just kind of so.
smart.
It's almost like I could punch someone in the face on this subway car. Why am I going to punch him?
Right.
When I could just punch this guy that doesn't have an NYPD
You know, my
shirt.
trick is if I'm walking in a bad neighborhood, and I'm a small dude, right? I'm 4'11".
Yeah.
What I do is I start scratching my arms really bad, like I have a disease.
Oh, that's a good one. You don't look very diseased, though.
Thank you.
You look.
No one's ever said that to me before.
You don't look diseased.
I always.
No, you're well kempt and everything. It's not like I would look at you even if you were scratching and think like, oh crap, he's got something.
Well, the adjective for me in high school was AIDSy.
AIDSy.
AIDSy Michael. They call
Well,
me.
everyone knows no one gets that anymore. So
Yeah.
cured that with Tylenol.
Okay. So the question is, so you're working on a book. It's coming out later this year.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do one now?
It just seems like the perfect timing. I've been through 20 years, over 20 years now of radio, most of which was with the Opie and Anthony show. And so much happened behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. But I felt it was a good time. I could really look back on it instead of being in it at the moment. And all the stuff that happened between Opie and myself and the firing and getting Compound Media together just seemed like now is a pretty good time to write about it and put it out there.
I'm sure you've addressed this before, but I got to ask: when you were let go for these ostensibly racist tweets, whatever, how they,
However it was worded.
yeah, was there a sense on your part of like, listen, I've been generating money for you guys for how many years? 18 years, 15 years,
Yeah.
and now it's just like thanks but no thanks. Was there a sense of just utter disloyalty?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt betrayed by not only the company, which is kind of funny if you think about it, like betrayed by, of course they'll betray you.
But I don't think it is, of course. I think different people run into fear. Look at Joy Reid.
Yeah, well, I believe depending on what you're doing and
Sure.
what your agenda is, it's obvious that there's a bias on there.
Right.
If I was a left-wing, liberal, progressive, whatever you want to call it, I'd probably still have my job over there.
Right.
But it's what I said, how I said it, how it was interpreted, how it was put in the news, all that came into play, and they just cut me loose. The Opie thing was another thing, though. You know, the disloyalty of somebody you worked with for so long. I was taken aback by that. It's like, we worked together for 20 years. I would think there'd be some kind of push. Even if you're bluffing, go in there and say, hey, you don't fire him or you hire him back or I'll do this. And if they say, okay, do it, then go, yeah, I was just kidding. Please, let me keep my job. But at least give it a whirl.
At the very least, if you are a horrible person, why is he sitting down next to this horrible person for that long?
Yeah, well, because it was very lucrative.
No, but I mean, from his, he's not going to say that, right? So if he's trying to be on his high horse, it's like, at least if you're going to be on your high horse, you have to at least you can't be a white knight and say this guy's a total villain because you're breaking bread with him.
Yeah, you were the one sitting there.
Yeah.
Well, he spun it in that he said, how did he? I forgot how he put it exactly, but it was to the effect of, well, it seemed like you wanted to leave anyway. He kind of justified it in that, because I was doing live from the compound at my house,
right,
in a studio that I built in my house, a video podcast kind of a thing, separate from the radio show. And Opie interpreted that as, I want to do other things and move on. So thank God he allowed me that by not backing me and sticking up for me in any way whatsoever.
So I know this, you've rehashed this all the time, but my friend Andrea is a big fan of you guys. She sat in on my last show, and her impression, and here's the other thing: when you get famous and you get a huge audience, it's hard to maintain self-awareness. On the other hand,
true,
you were being yourself on the show. You weren't being a character. This was like you hanging out with your buddies.
Yeah.
So you get paid money for, like, okay, free. I get to talk to my friends and get paid. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. It wasn't a very formatted show or anything that I had to do anything different than just be me.
So was there also this element of resentment, because the way she describes it, he's kind of the boring straight man, and you were the comic, or you're the funny one.
Yeah.
You're the edgy one.
Yeah.
So for him to be like, oh, blah, 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 it's just like, but I was the one who brought the humor.
Yeah. Although there wasn't resentment in that when I was doing the show, I never looked like, oh my God, I'm doing all the work here or anything like that, because it was so easy. It was just going in and talking. Having Jim Norton there too was key.
Yeah.
Like, that's a guy, me and him would bat stuff back and forth, and it was fantastic. Just had a great time. So I didn't really think like, you son of a bitch, you're not hauling your share here. So no, I never felt that kind of resentment. And he did, like, I'm not just going to crap on him. He did serve a purpose, and he did have his role in the program.
No, but what I meant is he was almost implying that you didn't serve a purpose.
Right. Yeah. That's when I started getting pretty pissed about the whole thing. Yeah, that he just had this weird thing where if we didn't text for a while, he'd be like, the communication between us, we need to talk, and why don't you text me just, hey bro, what are you doing? Like, I'm not that guy. I don't do that to my family or friends. I'm gonna do it for you. He got pissed at me once also. He goes, do you know, in all the time that we've been doing radio, you never even came over my house? I'm like, talk to everyone. Eric, E-Rock, I never came to his house. Jimmy, I've ever been to your house? And any of the people, I've never been to their house.
I'd sit next to you 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Why do I need to be in your house?
Why do I need to be in your house? Why do I need to talk to you or text you or something like that?
Yeah, we don't talk enough. We don't see each other enough. Every morning, every afternoon for hours.
Yeah.
We're talking.
It's a pain in the ass to keep tabs and check in and text women, and at least I'm having sex with them. It's not like I don't want to just talk to you. I don't want to just talk to anybody, quite frankly. Except Michael Malice.
Listen, Opie, I get paid to talk to you. Why would I do it for free?
Why would I do it for free? Great. Yes. And that was exactly it. But he took everything so personally, like a woman. He had a very girl-like personality when it came to just guy things. Like, me and Jimmy would look at each other sometimes when he was saying something and be like, oh my God, this guy, enough already.
How long? So listen, any relationship is tough.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, coworkers, whatever.
Yeah.
Anytime you're famous, you're the head of this big network empire, it's going to be headaches.
Sure.
What steps did you take to make that relationship work better, if any?
I was more of the just don't rock the boat guy. That's my whole take on just about everything in my life, by the way. It's worked well, and it's done harm. I guess you can't just handle it everything that way.
Right,
Some
right.
things you need to address
Yes,
and
yes.
talk about. But as far as the show went and stuff, look, we had done amazing radio for many, many years. I didn't think we needed any of these conversations about our relationship and how we live our lives off the air and things like that. We each had our separate personalities and foibles in those personalities, and we both had to deal with that. I was not the greatest guy to sit there and work with for 20 years. I know that too. But I would excuse some of his garbage, and I would assume he would excuse some of mine. I drove in every day from Long Island.
Right.
Just an utter pain in the ass, especially doing mornings. It was like over at Sirius Satellite Radio. You're stuck in morning rush hour traffic,
Right.
a little earlier than most people, but it was still rush hour from Long Island to New York City.
How long is the commute about?
It was on a very good day, 45 minutes.
Oh, that's still something.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
every
no joke.
day.
Yeah,
It drives you nuts. And that was going. Coming back, it was about an hour, maybe even longer.
Okay.
So I was annoyed. I just hated that part of it. But knowing I was going in and it's not going to be in a cubicle somewhere or out on a rooftop, I'm gonna be having a good time. I would walk in the studio, and God forbid I was even 5 minutes late while the intro music is still playing or what have you. There was he would be mad. That's not a guy.
Right.
That's not a friend or a coworker you've worked with. Who cares? He would have Club Soda Kenny pick him up at his apartment, which was a few blocks away, drive him right up to the front door of the studio, and he'd get out and go in. Now, you're not combating traffic or anything. So I would get in, I would sit down, and he would actually say...
On air?
On air. "Oh, Anthony, must have been a little traffic, huh? Just getting in?"
Wait a minute. That's how women talk. That is passive-aggressive.
Passive-aggressive garbage. And the bosses would hear it. So then the bosses would pull me aside and go, "Hey, make sure you're on time. What are you doing?" And meanwhile, it wouldn't affect anything. Me coming in 5 minutes late wouldn't affect anything. I'd get right to it. And he had to bring it up because I think Opie felt he wasn't good enough to be in that room with a lot of the legends that had gone through it. Patrice O'Neill, Geraldo, Voss, Colin Quinn. I mean, I can name every comic in New York that is good. They were on the show and destroying. Great job. He had such a lack of confidence even being in the room that anything he could do to hold power over somebody, he would use it, whether it was an intern, a guest, or me, or Jimmy, anything else. He would make comics sit out in the hallway until 8 o'clock, let's say, from 7 to 8 o'clock for no goddamn reason. No reason other than, hey, you're going to come in here and be great, and I'm not. So I'm going to show you what I can do. That's how he operated.
Were you the one who was apologizing to the comics?
Oh, constantly. I would, I would kind of.
That's a power move. That's a textbook Wall Street power move.
Yes, it was his only thing he could do. So he held it over interns. He would snap at interns sometimes with his fingers. I don't even mean snap like, "Hey, you." I mean literally go, could you get me my blueberries? And I had to sit him down. I actually said, "Opie, I don't think anyone likes when you snap at them." "Oh, really? Did someone say something?" I'm like, "No,
no one needs to say something."
I looked and I said, "Wow, that's not good."
It's like going to a restaurant and you don't tip, and then I think you should tip. Oh, did the waiter say something? He doesn't need to.
No.
Oh my God.
It was so for years of that.
Did it get
going
worse
on,
and worse and worse? Or did it turn overnight?
Yeah, either it got worse
or
I just noticed it more and more as it went on. But it was, all the years of it piled up, and the coworkers that we have very loyal staff that stuck around, and they would see it, and it ended up where honestly there's nobody I used to work with that has any contact with him. They will not. They're not friendly with him,
including you.
Including me. Oh yeah. But the comics, the entire staff, former and the staff that was there at the end, everyone just doesn't like the man and won't work with him.
And here's what you have been open and repeatedly publicly openly said, if he was willing to work together for the fans and do some reunion thing, you would do it.
Oh yeah,
because it wouldn't even be that hard.
No, it wouldn't be that hard.
The people, it's a thank you.
Yeah,
to the people who paid your bills for so long.
Yeah. I offered him so many opportunities to come on Compound Media before he even got the podcast he's doing now. And because he was 8 months, he went from when he was fired from Sirius till he got this podcast that he's doing. So for 8 months, that's deadly in broadcasting.
Yeah.
You need to get right out there and do things. A little walking around the streets of Manhattan wasn't cutting the mustard there.
I saw that video.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I don't know what he was thinking.
Were you cringing the whole time?
I was cringing. Like everything that happens on the streets of Manhattan is not magic. Oh, a guy's cooking a pretzel. Whoa, this is wild. No, it's not. A guy's cooking a pretzel. It's not crazy. So it's like
this fun fact, the last person to have watched that video was Kate Spade.
Oh my goodness. See, there may be a tie in there. We're gonna have to investigate. Oh Jesus.
She's like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah. I can't.
Dunzo.
I can't live in a world that has this. So he would
Bring me my red scarf.
No, the good one.
Hermes.
Yeah. So he was doing snapping. Bring me the scarf.
Scarface.
He was doing that stuff, but I had offered him a job over at Compound. I had offered him the opportunity to just come on. We had done a couple of calls prior to that when he was still with Sirius, Skyped in with each other's
So was the
shows.
conversation cordial?
Of course, because it was.
Well, it's not of
we were
course.
both on the air.
Oh,
like
okay. I see
here's
what
what.
you're saying.
At least I know what I can do, and I know what he does also. So if something's on the air, there's going to be a bit of showmanship to it.
Sure.
You're going to put things aside. You're going to address certain things, but make jokes about them
Sure.
and things like that. And that was fine. But in order to actually for him to come in the studio and sit down, he was like, dude, I think first we ought to sit, grab a beer maybe, and talk about things. It's like,
But
and destroy the spontaneity.
I was just going to say, that's what I would want to see as a fan. I want to see that happen in front of the camera.
The first meeting.
Yes.
Right. After all this time and all this venom and everything else, they want to see that. Like, you don't destroy it with some dumb meeting. But again, that comes from his complete insecurity in his capability of actually being spontaneous and sitting down and doing a show. He does a podcast now that's taped. It's recorded. And it's 2 days a week. And he has to have someone with him at the time. Like, you're over 28 years, maybe almost 30 years of him doing radio. If you can't have a mic in front of you and do an hour show alone, you really don't belong in the business. Honestly, you have no business being in the business.
So let's talk about fandom. So
Yeah.
one of the things that Mime Bialik, who played Blossom, had to deal with
Right.
when she was Blossom, if she's ever walking around anywhere, people would stop her and be like, sincerely, would be like, "Where's Joey?"
Yeah.
First of all, as if they're really siblings. Second of all,
Right.
as if even if they're not siblings, they're Siamese twins
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah.
So would that happen to you all the time? People stop, be like, "Where's Opie?"
Absolutely. All the time. When I was a kid, I used to think the Beatles lived together. I watched a couple of their movies and they were all together and they're having fun. They're in a little sunken living room talking with each other. It seemed like a lot of fun. But I was a child. Like, I would probably think that. To have an adult walk up to me and go, "Where's Opie?" It's like, I don't know, asshole. Where's the person you work with right now? Where are they? Where's Cubicle 3 right now? You dummy. So, yeah, but it would happen all the time. And I would, in my head, I'd say that. In person, I'd be like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I guess he's show reference. You got to be nice. You got to smile."
So here's the question I had to ask, which I could never ask at Compound Media, okay? And
Yeah.
I'm going to say this as gently as possible, okay? What is the deal with Bobo?
Yeah, I assume most people know, but I shouldn't assume that. Bobo came to the show as an audience member when we were at XM Radio. Now,
And by the way, he is the nicest guy.
he's a doll.
Nicest guy.
Just a great little autistic man.
Is that what it is?
I think he's on the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something.
Because I read online some people think it's an act.
It is not an act. If it's an act, he's been pulling it off. It's like the Prestige. It's like the movie The Prestige. He's living his act then.
I've become the mask.
Right. Yes. That's if he is, he's brilliant. But no, when we were at XM, we before Sirius and XM merged, which is hilarious. Sirius, it was a hostile takeover.
Right.
They merged like Hitler merged with Poland.
Jesus.
It was so when we were at XM, we had our own studios. It was huge, and we had bleacher seats in there, and we could fit 30, 40 people that could watch the show. One day, there's this guy in the stands, and he's a little twitchy, and he seems a little off. And we would have the mic and just talk to people in the audience. So we talked to him, and we were like, "Oh my God, this is gold.
Yeah.
This is just gold." Because he's such a nice guy, but he's a little odd, and he's a great character for a show. So since that day, he's been a part of the O&A show, and now a part of my show, and East Side Dave, and he just goes around. Chip Chipperson now has had him on board. It's great.
Harvey Picard did a book on me, and there's someone named Toby Radloff who's in his orbit. And Toby identifies himself as a genuine nerd, and he is, on the spectrum. And what was amazing, I remember talking to Harvey about this, and Toby at one point came out. And Harvey's like, we were just glad that he was gay. He wasn't like, fucking trees or something. They're like, what a relief, you're just gay.
Yeah, knowing Bobo over the years and various bits we've done with him, I think he likes girls.
Well, no, there's something a bit I saw which I thought was a little cruel, and I want to know if you regret it. There was a clip I saw online where you guys banned him from the building and tore up his past, and he was having a meltdown. He's like,
really...
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say that thing. And it's funny in one sense, but on the other hand, you're really causing the existential anguish.
It's terrible, but I have no emotions. If something's funny to me...
That might be the most fucked up sentence anyone's ever said.
It really is.
It's terrible, but I have no emotion.
And it's not in a way that a sociopath does, or what do they call that? Flat effect?
Yeah, flat affect. Yeah.
Like flat effect, it's just you're emotionless. No, I feel like some things, but the comedy trumps everything to me. Like if something's funny, empathy is just behind it.
Okay.
But funny will always take the lead.
I'm with you. Obviously, we're sitting here making Kate Spade jokes.
Right.
What I mean?
Yes.
But the point is, do you now feel a little bad now that the bit's been created that he was upset that badly?
No, I think enough time. Maybe that day I would have. I remember walking out of the studio a few times, and me and Bill Burr or Louis C.K. was another one. We would be walking to the parking garage, and Billy would be like, geez, I just kind of feel like shit for what we did. You just have this impression that you're like the Nazi guards when they punch out and they have to walk home and think about what they did that day. So Bill was always saying like, you think that person's fucked up for what we said? And it's like, I don't know. We had a midget woman practicing or auditioning to be a stripper on the console one day. And she's dancing around, and it was hilarious. And we're laughing, and we're making fun. And she just bursts out crying. Stand there, a naked midget woman crying right in front of us, standing on our console. And we felt really bad about it, but it was hilariously funny.
Right.
And when we left that day, that was one where I think Bill, or whoever was in the studio that day, was like, geez, I don't feel good about that one. Well, that's, it was a constant job of having to top yourself, too,
right.
with the shock jockery,
Right.
You do something one day, and once the show ended, that was over. And now you better do something tomorrow that's kind of crazy and outrageous and cruel and whatever it is. So it always builds up to the point of self-destruct.
When are you going to be announcing the release date and title?
This month.
Okay.
We're gonna we did the cover already. The cover's done, and we're really psyched about it. Going to be going up for pre-order the middle of this month, I guess, at some point.
Okay.
And then it's coming out in November. So we're going to be going around too, doing Rogan's show out in California, and
cool.
Adam Carolla, and doing like all the shows out there, and a lot of signings in the cities that we're doing well in: Philadelphia, Boston, Long Island, of course. Yeah, so it's just going to be a good time. I'm psyched to do something a little different.
Allie has another question. If Twitter was shut down and taken away for life, how long would it take you to go through the withdrawals?
Well, if you remember, I was sent to a rehabilitation facility a couple of years back in April for a trumped-up charge that I was on. So I had to go down there, and for 30 days, I didn't have internet. They gave you your phone for a couple of hours once a week, but other than that, I didn't care. I think if it's not possible to get to social media, it's not that bad. But knowing it's going on and something like that. So if Twitter disappeared, who'd give a crap? It's not there anymore. But if I just put down the phone, I have to see what's going on. Like it's almost, it sounds like an excuse, but it's part of my job.
Yeah.
Twitter has a lot of breaking news on it. I think many people find out what's going on in the world through Twitter now.
Oh, yeah.
And there's two different things on Twitter. There's your feed that people are talking about you and what you said and things that interest you, referencing you, and then just a feed of the people you follow. And that could be anything. That could be AP News, other people, celebrities, and they're very different. I don't have as much input on just that celebrity and news feed as I do on my personal mentions.
Right.
So those I could probably get rid of. And it would be a good thing. But I think social media is just a horrible thing for humanity in general.
Well, the only two times I've been off social media was when I was in North Korea, because there's no access to anything, and it's very weird.
I think you were around better people than we find on Twitter.
They all were anonymous, effectively.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weekends ago, I just turned off my computer and phone for the weekend and said I'm not allowed to use it, and it was really freeing. And I know this sounds pretentious, like a New York Times article, but it's weird when you know you can't get at it, as opposed to what you're saying, where the phone's right there.
When it's right there, you're gonna it's like potato chips, you know.
Yeah.
You don't. No one actually craves potato chips and goes, "Oh, I gotta have potato chips." But if that bag's open in front of you, you can eat the whole goddamn bag.
Right.
And it's the same thing with social media. You know, if out of sight, out of mind, kind of thing. What's his name from America's Got Talent, the other one. Oh God.
Simon Cowell?
Simon, yeah. Thank you. Simon Cowell put his phone away. He doesn't use it anymore. And he said it's the greatest thing he's ever done. He just put the thing away. Everything. Social media, phone calls, just nothing. And he said it's very freeing. Go back to those days where when you got home, there was a phone on the wall. If it rang, you picked it up and dealt with the situation.
Right.
No one ever really missed important things back then. You still were in touch, and you got things done, and work got done. We went to the moon without smartphones. I mean, amazing. So I really think, there might have Pandora's out of the box, but it would be nice to think of what the world could be if everyone didn't have access to everyone 24 hours a day.
Here's something that the kids today don't have that we had, which is prank phone calls. So what was the best prank phone call that you did?
Oh, God. I loved the classics. When I was a kid, if you could call up and call a bowling alley and ask him if he had 10-pound balls and then say, "How do you walk?" Those were, yeah. And then hang up. They were just, the old "Is your refrigerator running?" was a good one. Well, you better catch it. It's like all the crappy ones. But when your friends were around, that was a great thing. When your friends were gathered around. And then someone always screwed it up by calling someone and cursing.
Oh.
You're like, "What are you doing, you hack?"
My favorite prank phone call, my friend Ben did this one. He called up a 7-Eleven, and he just goes, "Hello, my wife is retarded."
Oh, jeez.
Waits. Yes, my wife is retarded. Sir? All right, my wife is retarded, and she went in there to buy a candy bar, and I gave her a 20, and she came out there with no change.
Oh, wow.
What is going on over there? And he goes, "Well, what did she look like?" Don't give me this "what does she look like" crap. She's not one of these retards who can pass. She's clearly
retarded.
Clearly. That was my favorite prank.
Did he ever try to close the deal and collect the money?
No, he did
Because
not.
that would be.
There was another one where he called funeral homes, and I don't remember which one that was. Maybe it was some kind of horrible funeral. So
In Boston, we did the butt plug one, which I called a place, a department store, I believe it was, or something, and just would say butt plug. That's all I said during the whole call. It's like butt plug, spark plug, butt plug, bug box, butt plug, bug plug. What do you want, sir? What are you looking for? Butt plug. All right, hold on. He transferred me to automotive. Automotive. Butt plug, spark plug. Right. What kind of spark plug? Butt plug. And I just said butt plug through the whole call. And it went on for like 2 minutes. Just kept transferring me to different departments. And I would say butt plug. It's one of my favorite prank calls ever. Yeah.
There's something else on YouTube
online.
where people do is they took soundboards from like T2
Oh,
or
yeah.
Judge Judy, and they call people and they just have Judge Judy talking through like audio files, and it's a whole conversation.
Yeah, people started doing that with Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger ones. I'm a cop, you idiot.
Get in the chopper.
Yeah. Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Yes.
All those clips. You'd have a soundboard and just play the clips, and it was hilarious.
I just want to tell you guys about our first sponsor, who are at ShaveCleanMaintain.com. Now, they sent me their stuff so that I'd be able to speak on it from an informed perspective. They have shampoos, they have shaving soaps, they have creams. If you go to ShaveCleanMaintain.com, you can try out their product. I got their Whip Shave Cream, and what I really liked about it is you put it on your face. It's a nice, smooth shaving experience. It's not thick, and it smells good. Some of you remember my fragrance show I did. Take that Polo Sport, throw it in the garbage, get this stuff because it's sandalwood, it smells rich, it smells sophisticated, and it's not expensive. If you know some guy who needs a gift, these things make perfect gifts, and it looks great on your shelf. If you go to ShaveCleanMaintain.com, use the promo code You're Welcome, you're going to get free shipping. So they're a great product. I can recommend it from experience. There's the Soothe Aftershave, which you obviously use after you shave. You've got the Clean Shampoo and Body Wash. You've got the beard stuff. It's a great site, a great product. ShaveCleanMaintain.com. And again, promo code You're Welcome. And you know what? You could spell it either way, and you're going to get free shipping on your order. That's ShaveCleanMaintain.com. Cannot recommend it enough. Thanks, guys. So here's what I wanted to ask you about. You have, I don't even imagine how many hours you have logged under your belt talking to people.
Oh, my God, yeah.
It's insane.
Gotta be.
It's right.
Oh, my God.
It's hundreds of
If
thousands.
only they were
probably.
flight hours. I would have a purpose in life.
So one of the things I learned early on when I was trying to get work is if you are personable in a job interview, even if your resume isn't great, you are going to be way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Because most people who you talk to in an interview are going to be a robot. No one's home.
True.
It's even more the case if you're really qualified, because then you're just like, I'm really qualified at my job, but there's no soul there.
Right.
Whereas if you're engaging, they want to hire you. So
Yeah.
I thought you could help us, help the listeners who probably are very bad at talking to people,
Yeah.
especially people who like me. Give them tips on how they can be more personable in an interview.
Wow, that's yeah. Well, I guess it all depends on the job too. I never went in for jobs that really took much.
Sure.
Before radio, every job I had was pretty much, yeah, we need a guy to do this, and you're willing to do it, so
Okay,
you
go
have
do it.
you have the job. But yeah, I guess the hardest part of it though would have to be not stiffening up and not being nervous, because once you're relaxed, you just sound better. It sounds more natural. You're not selling yourself to somebody. You're being yourself, and then the potential employer looks at that like, wow, this guy's got it together. He's not nervous. He's articulate. You'll make mistakes when you're nervous. It's. I was just thinking today because I had to do. I did Bernie and Sid's show on ABC this morning. And I'm just in my apartment, and it's maybe 10 minutes before I'm ready to leave. And I thought about how nervous I used to be for these things. Like years and years ago. I would be like, oh, you're doing a radio show. Ah! And I would freak out. Like the whole night before, I would be freaking out. And it just meant nothing to me. Now I don't think about it.
Right.
And you go on, you're in front of the mic talking, and you're loose. It's conversation. And I think years ago, that nervousness made me sound weird or different.
Yeah.
I was too overzealous to please the host or something. So I think, being able to just take a breath and relax is probably the best thing you could do.
I used to get nervous at the very beginning when I was doing stuff about North Korea because it's such a complicated issue.
Right.
So
Not many people know about it.
Right. I thought, what if they asked me about this? What if they asked me about that? And then I had to sit myself down and say, like, Michael, I promise you, the host doesn't know more than you about North Korea.
There you go.
There's not going to be a gotcha question.
A gotcha moment where you're like, I don't know. Aha, get out, you fraud.
Right. And if anything, what's beautiful, you could just answer a question that wasn't even asked. It's like, well, I don't know about that, but I think the most important thing to consider is blah, 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 blah. And that happens all the time.
It's great. I saw you the other day on Fox News doing that.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's just wonderful stuff. So, but the thing is, you must have seen all the time people who, before you go on air or who you know other contexts, are great conversationalists. Then the mic appears, and all of a sudden they tense up, and you would see the look in their eye. I'm sure.
Yeah. And
what would you do to calm them down?
I instantly go into takeover mode. Like, I have to then keep talking, and hopefully they can jump in. It's very hard when you're at that point where the person is locking up.
Right.
To get them out of it. Like, my job is to put on something entertaining.
Right.
So I can't now school someone on how to do radio while I'm doing it. So a prime example, what happened on David Letterman and the Jay Leno show with Opie. Like, I know Opie. He talk about freeze. Oh, my God. So I knew I had to sit in that goddamn chair next to the host,
right,
and I had to carry the conversation.
Was that an argument? Who's going to sit in which chair?
No,
okay.
It really wasn't.
Oh,
the truth of the matter is, he folded pretty quickly on that one.
Okay.
I think, again, his lack of
but it's also
security.
Visually Opie and Anthony, so Opie's on the left.
That's the
Anthony's
excuse
on the right.
I used.
Is that right?
That's
Smart
what I said. Because I was like, all right, we're going to have to address. In my head, I'm going, we're going to have to address this. I want that seat. I want that goddamn seat. And so I said, all right, we're going to have to determine seating when we walk out. I go, on the screen, it's got to be Opie and Anthony. He's like, yeah, go ahead. You sit there.
Yeah.
Like, I sat in that big chair next to David Letterman's desk. I put my arms up on the armrest, and I was like, yeah, my seat. But then, thank God, because I'd have been talking across Opie, because he barely said anything.
Yeah.
And what he did say, I felt I had to rattle something out really quick because it just put the brakes on.
But that's also so weird that someone who's for hours a day is comfortable running his mouth. All of a sudden, this is what, a 5-minute segment.
Yeah, only behind his microphone. All the time. When I would do Hannity years ago when we were on the O&A show, and Sean constantly said, "Where's Opie? I want to get him on here. He's more of a liberal. I'd like to tear him apart."
Show reference.
Yeah. Right.
He's with Bobo. Who?
Yeah. What?
Whatever,
Ooh.
Sean.
What? Forget about Sean.
It's fine, Sean.
Yeah. So, but I'd ask Opie. I go, "You should go on Hannity." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I'm not into politics or anything." Like, any show that would call, he just wouldn't do it. And in the 8 months that he was off the air, you'd think you would at least try to keep your name out there by doing talk shows and whatnot, you know? And I'm sure he could get on Kennedy or any of these shows, but he's devoid of, I think, a real personality aside from what he feels he puts out on the air.
I got a question. What criticism of you from him would you say is the most accurate?
Well, the communication thing, man. But other than that, that I don't take anything very seriously.
Okay.
Like he just thought I was skipping through life with my shoelaces untied, and perhaps I am. You know, I've been allowed the lifestyle I have, thank God, based on what I put in for 20 years doing radio, and yeah, I don't like taking things very seriously unless they have to be addressed.
Right. One of the other things in terms of freezing up in front of a mic, I think people also have this big misconception that if you stammer or you correct yourself, somehow everyone at home is going to throw tomatoes at the screen.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you just correct yourself, if I called you Artie by mistake, oh, excuse me, Anthony, and I kept going, no one notices. No one cares.
No need to turn beet red and sweat.
Right.
It's okay. That like a second of dead air is fine also.
Yeah.
Trying to find something. And it's like, oh, what do I got here? Let me. It's not a panic moment. Your time in your head, how time goes on the air, is so different than for the audience. For you, every second is this longer thing, and if you're looking for something or trying to find a word or whatever it is, it's not that long as you see it, and the audience barely notices it if they do at all.
Or if you have someone at your house, right, and you say, "I've got the best story to tell you. Hold on, I have to get something in the room. Sit right there."
Yeah.
While they're sitting there, they're not bored. They're excited. They're like,
Right,
"What's he showing me?
What is this?"
So that silence is actually a good thing. It's not a problem.
Some hosts have made an art of it. Ron Bennington, for one, he could make dead air entertaining. Like, he'll say something and then just go like, well, maybe that isn't what we, and then just go into another conversation. But the dead air, you're actually getting out of your seat and moving closer to what you're listening to, going like, what is this? What is this? What's he going to say? Some people have worked that dead air, that pause, the dramatic pause for they're very good at it.
This is what people don't realize. You made such a good point. Like, in your head, it's hours, and in real life, it's hundredths of a second.
Yeah.
I've done many appearances, and I'm like, I was stammering like an idiot. And my friend who rips it, my appearances for TV, goes, "It was fine. It's always fine." And I look at it, and you don't even notice it. But in my head, I was like, complete degenerate, not even speaking English.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And you just have to get over yourself in your mind. It's very hard to do.
Your take on what you're saying and how you're saying it and how long it takes and everything is so much different than the audience. There are some days where it's odd when you do this for so long, where your mouth just doesn't work right. Yeah. Like, you're you ever try to have a conversation when it's like 0 degrees out and you can barely move your mouth?
It's like Rich Voss.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I'd hate to hear Rich in the cold weather. His mouth would probably freeze shut from his drooling.
Jesus. Like a nice beard of icicles.
Like he's on the top of Everest when they're all just frozen. But it is one of those things. Sometimes you're just having a bad day and your mouth won't work right. Or the worst is, doing a show hungover. Like, I really used to do a lot of hungover shows when we did Morning Drive.
Yeah.
Because I'd work from 6 to 10 doing the show. I'd get home about 11 and then just crash, go to sleep. And I'd wake up somewhere around 4 maybe. And then the whole night, I just have the whole night. And I would go to sleep probably 2 a.m. and then nap until I had to get up again. The sleep cycle for morning radio personalities is an abomination. It is the worst thing possible. So unhealthy. You're never getting really good sleep.
Yeah, I just did Fox and Friends first, which is I had to wake up at 4, be there at 5. And what was great about that, I was only on for 5 minutes. I went back to bed. When I woke up, I had forgotten I had done the show.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, it's like a dream.
Yes.
But the other thing is the hosts, they all have to be bright and sunny at 5 in the morning. They're all crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I just found this out. I'm like, I don't know if it draws crazy people or if it makes you crazy. They were making the most funny jokes. I'm like, oh, shit, that's what happens. They're like,
you go a little mad. It's a lack of sleep, not solid sleep. You're constantly, everything you're doing is napping.
Yeah.
They're all just naps you're taking, whether they're a 4-hour nap or 2 hours or something, but it's still just a nap. And then I would still want my nightlife. So I'd go out, I'd party, I'd drink, and then the morning comes and I'm like, oh my God, I'm really not in good shape.
Yeah.
And I'd have to sit there, and again, if it was anyone else, I could walk in and go, oh my God, please, I'm so hungover. But I'd have to, like, all right, I'm walking in the studio. Hey guys, how you doing? Like, I'd have to act because Dummy would get all pissed off. Meanwhile, hungover, I could do it. I run circles around what he was doing.
But the thing is, it's funny if you're hungover.
Yeah,
it adds to the show. It's like, listen, guys, I'm in pain.
That's it.
I'm hungover.
Oh, I'm really hurting.
And the audience at home's laugh. It's funny to me because it's like, look at this hungover host.
Right.
I feel your pain.
And he would look like, oh, I bet he's hungover. What's judgmental?
Did you ever sit him down and be like, if you're calling me out on air, this doesn't help the show?
No. That's another thing. I just never dealt with it because every day that went by, that 4 hours, we'd do the show, that was all I needed. Okay. And then the next day, and the next day, and then a week, and it would turn into a month, and I just wanted to keep it going because I'm not dummy here. I'm not like Guns N' Roses. I saw the gold mine that was the Opie and Anthony show, and I was going to stick with it. And knowing him, there's a reason it was the Opie and Anthony show. There were plenty of Anthonys before me when he was working at BAB, when he was working up in Rochester, doing his show alone. There were plenty of other Anthonys that came through his show. They all couldn't stand him.
Right.
They couldn't stand the guy. And they wound up leaving after a time and saying, wow, I can't work with that asshole. Me? I went, yeah, he's an asshole, but I will work the show. I will work forever with this guy.
Yeah.
Because it was, what am I going to, this is terrible. Let me go back to sheet metal work.
Was there any guest that you had that was recurring that you dreaded coming when they came in?
Yeah. Carlos Mencia.
Oh.
Like, not so much. Look, maybe it's just not my cup of tea.
Okay.
But the first time Carlos came in, he was great. It was very funny. And then every subsequent time, it was just kind of the same thing over and over again. And I didn't really get the joke. So there were a few other ones. God, I wish I could remember offhand like this. But, there were a couple of people. None of the local guys. Like, I love all the regular guys, comics that would come in. Bobby Kelly and all those guys are great. But yeah, sometimes Roland, who would book the guests, the guy that Opie filmed taking a dump in Sirius, the reason he was fired. Roland was our talent booker, and he just had a hard time. He would come in at the end of the show and be like, guys, we have to go through a list I have of people for a guest of show. And he'd say, and everyone would be like, yeah, no. I hated the idea of A-listers coming in. Like, they would, because they weren't coming in for us. They were coming in for Howard and maybe the E channel and Entertainment Weekly channel. And then they would be forced to sit in on our show because they're in the building.
Right.
We knew this. We had such a bad reputation. The A-listers didn't want any part of it. Which I was fine with. They are never good guests. They have a publicist that runs block, tells you can't talk about the most interesting things about them. Like, anything that happens, they don't want you talking about it. Oh, what, did this person shoot someone yesterday? Yeah, don't mention that he shot someone yesterday. He's got a new rom-com coming out, though. Oh, good. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, Hugh Laurie, our audience really loves to hear about your rom-com.
Yeah, a rom-com. No, I don't want to do that. So a lot of those guests were just lemons. You get some good ones, but for the most part, I'll take the local comics or a guy that did an indie movie or something that I enjoyed on demand, some documentary, like things like that. I like. I could talk to people like that a lot easier than I could talk to these people that just absolutely don't want to be there.
So speaking of not want to be there, one of the funniest moments on your show was when accidentally, because Artie wasn't there, Ron Bennington was the guest host.
Oh, my.
And Colin Flaherty gets to sit in. Now, Colin Flaherty is pretty much, I don't know if he would not use this word, but racist, right? His books are about race.
I don't think he would use that word. I think Colin points out things that are going on that if you look at it, and you just look at the face value, you would go, wow, that's racist. But Colin backs up a lot of what he does with statistics. Now, again, you could argue the whys and hows and what should be done and stuff, but he's just putting it out there like, hey, here's what
I think
is happening.
His point is racist in this sense that he doesn't think like blacks and whites could ever live together harmoniously.
Okay.
That in that sense.
It's his opinion.
Yeah,
sure.
no, that's what I'm saying. Then you have Ron.
Yeah.
And
Ron is a hippie liberal.
Right. And you should have had Artie was supposed to be there. Ron was there instead.
Yeah.
And this was the week your mother had passed away.
Oh, my God.
And you still decide to do the show for God knows what reason.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there, and Ron is. You say he's a hippie liberal. He's not some foaming at the mouth Rachel Maddow.
No,
he's very
not.
calm and informed, and was asking Colin what I felt were very fair questions. He's like, "You say this, I grew up in a black neighborhood. How do you reconcile these two things?" And Colin, I want to hear your perspective. Really seemed to take umbrage to what Ron was saying and was getting very upset.
Yeah, I think Colin is so used to being combative with people because instantly they attack what he's saying. So I think Colin is so used to just brr, the second somebody says something about what he's saying, he feels it's an argument. Ronnie isn't like that, obviously.
No.
Ronnie's a very laid-back guy. So they just... It was two people that just shouldn't have been in the same room together. And with me, Mr. Non-Confrontation, as the referee, it just wasn't working. It was really bad.
You looked at that camera and you said, for the first time in my long career, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
And since you're the boss, it's your company, you look around, but who are you going to look around to?
There's
the
no
buck
one.
Stops there, Harry Truman. And you're like, what do I do?
You're absolutely right. I did say that, and I meant it. And to this day, I still mean it. I didn't know what the hell to do. And, two different camps were telling me what I should have done. And they're both different opinions on what should have been done. Oh, Ronnie should have left. Colin should have left. You shouldn't have had them both in. You should have let them fight. Obviously, in hindsight, you could come up with things. But in that moment, all of a sudden, my dad had thrown the spaghetti against the wall again. And I was little 7-year-old Anthony crying that mommy and daddy were fighting. And I didn't know what to do. So I just screamed, I have a stomachache, like I did when I was 7.
And you tell Colin, you're like, Colin, we'll book you again. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just had to separate them. I'm not the guy that can do a Jerry Springer kind of show. I just can't do it. I don't like that kind of confrontation. I like funny confrontation and conflict. When you would get Patrice O'Neill and Rich Voss beating the crap out of each other, it was hilariously funny.
Friends.
And they could be vicious and brutal with each other.
Right.
But they weren't. It wasn't real.
Yeah.
It wasn't an ideology against ideology kind of a thing. So that really kind of threw me for a loop there. And to this day, I don't know if put in the same situation, I would react any differently. I would just panic.
It was also,
I panicked.
It's all that experience and you're still like, I don't know what to do.
I had no idea.
And the thing is, Ron was like, I'm not asking anything that difficult. Like, I'm Anthony, am I being too tough? And you're like, no, Ron, I don't know what to do.
I think Colin saw what Ron was saying as a little condescending.
Okay.
Also,
I can see that. Okay.
I think Ron was looking at Colin like, oh, here's some racist. Right. I'm gonna be a little passive aggressive with him and put him down, but not say it, kind of a thing. And Colin, like I said, just takes a lot of things as he's got to be vicious.
Yeah. Because
of what his opinions are and what he puts out there. A lot of people want to confront him about it, and that's his gig.
Speaking of funny confrontation, let's talk about the shit that went down with you and Stuttering John.
Stuttering John.
So you went to his show, his comedy show.
Yeah.
And you said to him, "Nice job."
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, that's what you say. Like, he's so funny in that. Well, maybe I shouldn't use that word. He's so odd in that he just didn't quite understand that when a comic gets off a stage, whether they bombed or not, unless you're really good friends, you go, "Ooh, wow, you ate your balls on that one." Like you're just gonna say, "Hey, good job, man, good job." So I said that. But it wasn't really a good job. He just wasn't very good. He's not a comic. He's a guy that got lucky getting on Stern's show. Did a great job with the interviews and stuff. He set of balls on him, unmatched.
I sent Laura Loomer, because we're old, Anthony. Laura Loomer, who confronts all these celebrities, she'd never heard of him.
Oh, wow.
And I go to YouTube, look at these videos. This is the guy who paved the way for you.
This is what, yeah. Like, I'd never take that away from the guy. Yeah. I mean, to go up to people who were in the news at the time, big stars, legends, like, people from the goddamn Beatles, and just say these things. That was an amazing set of balls. But as far as getting up on stage and being a stand-up comic, I don't know. It seems like entertainers or personalities or just people that get their 15 minutes of fame will fall back on, oh, now I'm a stand-up comic. It really is insulting to stand-up comics to think that anyone can do that.
It's on Twitter. Like sometimes I'll have an offensive joke, and people who don't know me start yelling, "Go like look, blah blah blah! Look at this second-rate comedian." And I'm like, I'm not a
comic.
I'm not any kind of comedian.
Yeah.
I might be humorous,
right?
I mean, to compare me to fucking Rich or Patrice or Dave Smith or it's just insane. I'm not. Not everyone who's funny is a comedian. Not everyone who tweets is an author. Like, what are you talking about?
Right, exactly. So I don't think John got that and thinks, I'll just be a stand-up comic. And he's, in my opinion, I don't find him very funny on stage. So he took umbrage to that. I made a joke that the parking lot was very empty.
Yeah.
I go, I went there. It was a governor's brokerage show. And I said, it was great. I got a parking spot right away, right near the building.
But here's the thing. Did you know that John is that kind of thin-skinned and
No.
sensitive? Oh.
I really didn't at the time.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that bad. Artie had told me.
Okay.
He goes, forget about John. He goes, you make fun of him. And he comes back with, your father died. And he just comes back with these horrible things. And I didn't know that.
Right.
And then I start goofing on him a little bit, and I find out he's just like, oh, my God. Hey, Pocky. And he's calling me names, and he's, like, making fun of my family and stuff. And this is a guy I've had over my house. Like to play poker.
He's no Opie. He's actually been to
he's been to my house. He's yeah. Why did you call me?
But it got really, really vicious.
Yeah, it got really vicious.
So you don't like conflict, but if someone starts it, you're still Italian. You're going to finish it.
Yeah. And the odd thing is, if it's conflict with me, I'm okay with it.
Oh.
Like, I can do that.
Oh.
I can't watch conflict between other people. And I'll avoid conflict with myself till the bitter end. But when it finally does crack, the guinea will come out, and I will have a confrontation. But I just don't like having to orchestrate other people's conflicts or get involved with that. When I was in that rehab facility down in Florida, and I'm down there just purely to get something put on a court record that I did it. I went through it.
It seems so insane, given the model of how addiction works, that you could be sentenced to rehab. It's like it's not going to work until the person's ready.
It's not going to work, and it was ridiculous. Even the counselors there were going like, I don't think you really need to be here for this.
Right.
They started, actually, my counselor started trying to move the treatment and saying, maybe we should move it to a social media addiction kind of a thing that you're doing. I'm like, all right, we could do that. Whatever gets me through this and has you sign my slip that goes to the court, I'm fine with that. But I would have to sit in groups where men would start crying about losing their family and drinking to the point of passing out in front of their kids, and then they'd read letters from their children to them and literally grown men that I would be afraid of because they were just cute, crying their eyes out. And I would sit there, put my head down, and just like, I'm not here.
Look at this pussy.
I didn't want I couldn't look.
Right.
I didn't want to be in that atmosphere. I wanted to leave the room.
It's even worse for me. I get this from my mom. It must be genetic. Me and my mom, when things are that uncomfortable, we can't stop laughing.
Yeah, that's how.
And then you have this huge dude crying about his daughter.
Oh my God!
And I'm laughing in his face, and and then the fact that I'm laughing makes me laugh, and then I want to kill myself.
Yes, most of the time.
Get me the scarf.
Get me a red scarf, please, and a doorknob. Most of the times in church, at funerals and stuff like that, I spend most of the time trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Like, why would you want to laugh in this situation? I'm like, because it's something I know I shouldn't be doing. Right. And it's almost involuntary.
It is involuntary.
Yeah, and you got to bite your tongue and just concentrate on not laughing. Isn't that weird?
It's bad.
It's bad.
And I start thinking about like old people like taking off their clothes, like old women trying to seduce me.
What do you want, a hard on?
Anything to stop from laughing. I can handle a hard on.
Jesus.
So let's talk. So you have a new co-host on the Anthony Cumia show.
Dave Landau, yeah.
Dave is the best.
He's perfect for this show.
How'd you find him?
He was on the show a few times before as a guest, and I always liked him. He was really funny. His sense of humor is twisted.
Yes.
He has that real I don't give a shit attitude. And it's not like he's like me, but we complement each other in that way. And to have that on a show with a co-host is fantastic. So when Artie was on one of his sabbaticals, he sat in for the week. As did Aaron Berg, who was fantastic, great.
Love
but
Aaron.
he's got that show he's doing in Hot Water
with Gino.
The only show on Compound Media that I am completely offended by.
Is that right?
I watch it and I go, oh my God, this is way out of line. Like I don't want to appear on their show during some segments because I don't want to screw up my reputation. Put it that way. That's how bad they get.
Okay.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Dave came in and did a week, and it was great. Like, he gets it. He knows the role of a good co-host.
Yeah.
I don't ever put an anchor or the brakes on anybody. If he wants to go off on a 20-minute diatribe, feel free. Say whatever you want to say.
Let's work for you.
Like, I think it's great. If it's entertaining, it's great.
Yeah.
But he also knows that if I'm talking or bringing up a topic, I need a little more time to get that across to the audience, and then we could both start talking about it. There are some people that don't understand that. So in the middle of me setting up the segment, somebody either goes off on a tangent or starts commenting on it before I'm done. And I never even had to talk to Dave about this or anything. He just knows how this works. And it works out perfectly. He's got a twisted sense of humor. We were laughing at just unbelievably horrific things the other day, making jokes. One of our audience members was dressed like a 7-year-old. He had little shorts on, cargo shorts, a striped shirt, a little baseball cap, and we started laughing that this guy's dressed like a 7-year-old. And I said something like, and we were talking about who he looked like. You know, it was Dennis the Menace or Spanky from Little Rascals. And I said, if you take his head off, he'll look like Adam Walsh. Now, Adam Walsh is John Walsh's son from America's Most Wanted. Yeah. It was the worst joke you could possibly say. And Dave just put his head down laughing hysterical.
Oh, my God.
And that's the kind of thing, like, I love that. I see, and people ask me all the time, is there a line in comedy? Do you have a line? No. And I mean absolute no. There's no topic that can't be made, a joke can't be made from.
What's shocking to me is when people are like, oh, I'm comfortable with you making slavery jokes but not rape jokes, or Holocaust jokes but not
right, that they have
kids. It's like, do you really think this is objective?
There's a hierarchy of offense where rape is much worse than racism, and then other people will say the opposite. And it's exactly what came up the other day between the Samantha Bee thing and Roseanne thing.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, no, what Roseanne said was so much worse than what Samantha said. It's like, says you. Right. There's other people that think calling a woman the C word is the worst thing ever.
Right.
And that comparing a woman to a mask in a movie is a lot different. But that's kind of where people get confused. And I just think anything is open. If it's
it lands.
As long as it lands. Yeah, there has to be
just
some
like
kind
Kate's
of
body.
It's not. There's nothing funny about the topics you hit on when you're doing real dark humor.
Right.
There's nothing funny about the topics, but in the presentation, it can be funny.
Right.
So people mistake a rape joke about joking about rape. Yeah. Like, they mistake the two. It's not. You're not making light of rape. You're making a joke about rape. And some people don't think there's a distinction there, but there absolutely is.
And it's I have a chapter in my forthcoming book about this, and I go through all the different subjects, and it's like you can't but this is the thing. I get how people are like, I don't think certain inappropriate humor is funny. If they're a blanket, they don't like it, that's fine. Like,
yeah, sure.
But for you to pick and choose, and then think it's objective, that's what's
It
insane.
becomes ridiculous because somebody else will see it completely different. You'll never get people that'll line up all these things in the same order. So yeah, it's a very subjective thing. And when I see somebody writing it down as an absolute, you kind of go, You kind of look down at the person like, what are you, an idiot?
Whenever anyone dies, I always have a fake obituary for them that I get it out as fast as possible. I have the wrong photo and I have the wrong caption, right?
I've seen those.
Yeah, it's fun. My favorite one was when Nelson Mandela died, and I had a picture of Desmond Tutu, and I said, "Rest in peace, Nelson Mandela, liberator of South America." And everyone, it's like, they're like, "This is too soon." I'm like, when are you supposed to put out a rest in peace joke? After they're cold in the ground?
Right, then it's not funny.
That's the
exactly.
only possible time.
There's a half-life to comedy, and with each ticking either second or day, even sometimes or weeks, it doesn't get as funny. So you got to strike while the iron's hot. I caught some crap the other day with the Pete Davidson joke
Who's
that
Pete
I
Davidson?
tweeted. Pete Davidson's a guy on SNL.
Okay.
He just started going out with Ariana Grande.
Oh, is he the one with the Hillary tattoos?
Yeah,
Whose
he's
dad
got
died in
Hillary
9/11?
tattoo. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's got Ariana Grande tattoos now that he put on him.
Okay.
So I said he's insane. I go, I've met the guy a few times. He comes off a little crazy.
Okay.
He's on SNL, and now he's dating Ariana Grande. So I was like, well, he's insane. And someone goes, well, you know, his father died in the towers on 9/11. And I said, yeah, too bad it wasn't Bring Your Son to Work Day. and people get so pissed. But it's funny. It's a funny joke.
We're going to leave with this thought. The week of 9/11, the very week.
Yeah.
The top of one of the towers was a restaurant called Windows on the World.
Yep.
Right? It's a very famous restaurant. The New York Magazine, I believe it was, asked Joan Rivers, who I'm sure you're a huge fan of.
Oh, yeah.
Was she ever on Opie and Anthony?
No, never had her on.
She's just a Howard person. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
But obviously you're a huge fan. The week the reporter asks her for an interview, and she says, "Do you want to meet at Windows on the Ground?"
Oh, jeez.
The same week.
Same week.
But here's the thing: her husband killed himself.
Yeah.
She would be making all sorts. Her whole point. She was on CNN towards the end of her life.
My poor Edgar.
Yeah, she goes, "When you make people laugh, it's a vacation from life."
Yeah.
For a few minutes, you don't realize how tough it is, how hard it is. And if you can't laugh about the darkest things, that's a release of tension. It's a release of pressure.
And I've seen that happen over the course of the years. With 9/11, we were on the air, and of course, the subsequent days after 9/11, it was very dark, and the talk wasn't funny. We started getting the first funny thing we did after 9/11. We started getting tribute songs in from people that actually thought they were going to sing about the towers and America and stuff. They were dead serious. So we found a bunch of these, and we started playing them, and they were so bad. And we started playing a game. We would stop the song after one of the lines to try to guess what they would rhyme with certain things. It's like towers, hours. And then we'd play the song, and then went by the hours. And we're like, yeah. So that became the first thing we actually were able to make light of with the tragedy.
Would you say, let's roll the tape?
Yeah. Oh, let's roll the tape.
Were the songs bad enough that you actually envied the dead?
So yeah, they didn't have to hear it. Thank God they didn't have to hear. They were so bad. And we're going to take it to them and kick their ass. And they were mostly country songs, that whole mentality. And they were so bad, so cliche and hacky and that it was great. It was a great release of the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, Anthony Cumia, thank you so much for being here.
Love
CompoundMedia.com, which has some wonderful shows, including July 9th. I will be back there with my nighttime show.
We love it.
And I'm really ecstatic to look forward to your book.
Yes. It's Permanently Suspended is the title.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love it.
Permanently Suspended.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It fits perfectly.
Perfect. Did you think of that?
No, actually, one of the guys that are helping me write it.
Oh, fuck yeah!
Because it just fits
brilliant.
perfectly. I've been permanently suspended.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
I will see you all next week. We've got Scott Adams here. You are welcome.